Whether you're bugging out to the wilderness or trying to do emergency repairs on your house after a major storm, or even going out camping with the family, the skill that we're going to be talking about in this video is absolutely critical for you to know. And by the end of this video, you're going to realize that two things are very true. One, this is not a topic that gets discussed very much on any prepping channels. And two, the reason for that, it's very boring. Hey everybody, this is Praxis. I just got back from a camping trip, and one thing that I use frequently whenever I'm camping is tarps. I have a tent, but frequently, whenever you buy a tent, after a couple of years, the rainfly, whether it's an expensive tent or a cheap tent, just kind of stops working. So I'm always kind of throwing tarps over everything. I've got a lot of tarps. There's a whole bag full of tarps here.
I'm the tarp and chronic king. On the rise, streets sing my praise under the gray skies. Rain, no game, I'm the shelter from storm. Tarps and Grommets, my hustle, my norm.
So I've got a bunch of tarps that I bring with me. A couple of the tarps here are ground covered tarps. This one has some silver coating on it. This tarp here is kind of a heavy duty one, and whenever you're talking about tarps, heavy duty is kind of like in quotes with a couple of asterisks after it. You know, some heavy duty tarps are made better than others, and that's actually what I specifically want to talk about in this video. And I'm going to be showing you how to fix a tarp that claims to be heavy duty but maybe isn't so much. This tarp and this tarp here I bought from the same company, same like heavy duty tier of quality between them. This tarp here has grommets all along the side. Grommets are those little metal things that where there's like holes that you can tie them off or whatever. At least you hope that they're metal, because this is a high quality heavy duty tarp. There are metal grommets in here. In fact, some of these cheaper tarps, they also use metal grommets in some of these like really cheap ones. But this heavy duty tarp, bought from the same company, it doesn't even have metal grommets on the sides. And one of them started falling apart just while I was out camping. And that's what I want to do in this video, is to kind of repair one of these grommets. In fact, I think I might replace all of the corner ones anyway. I don't care so much about the grommets that are along the edges, but usually when I'm using tarps, I'm grabbing them from the corners and pulling them down. So I think I'm going to be replacing out all these crappy heavy-duty grommets on the corner with really nice metal grommets. So I've got a whole bag here. I'm going to talk a little bit about how to use these bags of grommet pieces, what kind of tools you need to put all this stuff together. Because whether you have tarps or even just sheets of like 4 mil or 6 mil plastic, the ability to put grommets on the corners is a real game changer when it comes to your ability to kind of manipulate these tarps in any way. Now you can just take a tarp and I'll just kind of demo on this tarp right here. This tarp here has grommets in it, but let's say I wanted to attach a rope somewhere where there's not a grommet. Let's say we wanted to attach a rope right here. The way you can do that is take a stone. Any stone will do, something about this size or so. It can be smooth, but it's good if it has a little bit of angles to it that helps it to grab a bit. You take the stone, put it inside the tarp, wherever you want to grab, and squeeze it up, kind of like that, like you're making one of those arts and crafts things when you were a kid, where you take a crumpled up napkin and put it inside another napkin, and you make kind of like a ghost, put the face up in here. So you get the rock up in there, and then we're going to grab that with a rope. And the way that we prepare the rope is we put a little noose in a line of rope. So we're going to cross the rope over like this, and then reach through, pull through, and that gives us a self-tightening noose. And I'll run through that again, because if you're anything like me, you need that kind of thing demoed a couple times. So we put the cross in. Oh, I did it the wrong way. Do the cross this way through the rope, so it crosses over on top here. We reach down through the hole and pull that part through, and that'll make a tightening noose. Put that around your ghost neck, and that makes a really good strong connection point where you can grab tarps even if they don't have any grommets in them whatsoever. But having grommets in the corners just makes it a lot easier. It makes it lay out a lot flatter. And in this video, I want to demo putting grommets into tarps, specifically replacing out a crappy tarps, crappy grommets. Now this is the corner in question. They do have these nice corner bits here, which I think were kind of a cool feature, but the grommets inside of them just fell right apart. Now, part of this is metal. Like this part here, no, yeah, that's plastic too. Yeah, it's just a junky plastic, heavy-duty, high-quality grommet, and we're going to be replacing that. And this is what I've got here. It's just a bunch of grommet replacement tools. Now, when you buy one of these kits, they usually come with a couple different things. One is that they come with the grommet pieces, and these come in like, I don't know, whether male and female parts or whatever. One part has a bit of a shaft, and one part doesn't, and they kind of go into each other, and then they're going to clamp down. So it'll come with a bunch of those, and it's also going to come, this is a complete pack with everything in there. 2 is 1, and 1 is none when you're a prepper. So I've got that ready to go once I run out of all my other pieces. Now this is the kit that I've been rocking, and this has a couple pieces here. And it's been a while since I did this, and I don't mind doing it on camera, so you can see how, even if you haven't done it for a while and you kind of forget what you're doing, it's not a big deal. There's a cutting tool that allows you to cut a hole in your tarp, and that is this right here. This piece has kind of a sharp edge to it. It's like a cookie cutter, and what you would do is you put your tarp down on a piece of wood, put your cookie cutter over it, take a hammer, that's the only other tool that you need, and pop through, and that's going to make a little hole in your tarp. And our tarp is pre-existing with that, so I don't need this tool. So I'm going to set that aside, but that's how you use that one. The other tool is the tool that's used to curl these grommet corners down. And I think for the rest of this video, I'm going to get a close-up of what I'm doing right here. Okay, and just to reiterate, these are the 2 pieces that are going to go together. This has a shaft, and this one doesn't. They're going to go together like that. And I've got these 2 tools here for curling things over. So I'm just going to place them up on this block so I don't, well, I'm not going to damage my floor because my floor is a boulder. But, you know, if you're doing this in your house, you want some kind of a block. Here's the corner that I'm going to be repairing. You can see the hole that was already punched in there, and we're just going to be putting a fresh metal grommet in instead of this ridiculous plastic piece of crap that they put in there. All right, so I'm going to put this back. Now this isn't really necessary, although I think it probably does help distribute the load a little bit. So I'm going to keep that. But you can do this without this little triangular piece. You can put the grommet right in there. But since I got it, I'm going to use it. All right, so this is going to position right over here. And first what I want to do is I'm taking the piece that has the shaft facing up, I'm going to rest it right in there, and then push that up through my little hole here. You'll notice that it happens to be the exact right size. That's by good fortune. If I had been making this hole myself with the tool that came with it, you'd be manufacturing it to be exactly the right size. All right, next, this piece goes right over there and sandwiches it all together. And then what I do is take this tool, put it right in like that, and then I'm just going to tap it from the top. Here we go. Alright, there we go. And what that did is it folded over the shaft and it just grabbed on nice and firmly to this, and now we've got a nice strong metal grommet. I'm going to do one more corner just for demo purposes. I don't think it'll be too hard to get these apart. Here's another corner. I mean, they broke apart so easily before. There we go. Yeah, that's heavy duty for you. Alright, so these are the junky plastic ones. I'm going to discard those and get myself some more of my nice bits. So far I've been really lucky that I've just so happened to pull out, yeah, every time I go in I just pull out matching pieces. It's a 50-50 chance each time. Alright. There we go. So that's down there. And I'm trying to manipulate this up here so I don't bump my tripod. I did that earlier. Alright. So we're lining everything up. Oops. Hey, you know, an easier way to do this might be to just kind of push this through by hand, yeah, and then just set it down. See, I told you I haven't done this in a while. All right, so now we're going to take this piece, lay it over the top, I want to interrupt what I'm sure is just a fascinating video about putting grommets into tarps with a little discussion about how to use tarps, because this is a big mistake that I see people engage in whenever they're out camping. Now I've got this tent set up right over here, and I didn't buy this tent. This is one that I found being thrown out in a dumpster, and for that matter, these two chairs are being thrown out in a dumpster too. Whenever I go camping, I'm always finding tons of stuff being tossed out. Now, this is not the best tent in the world at all. It's made by Coleman. I mean, yeah, most of what Coleman makes is kind of like, yeah. So, you know, the fact that it's in a dumpster, it's like, okay, fair enough. Yeah, it's not great, but when they threw it away, it was no worse off than it was when they first initially had bought it. But for the purpose of this, let's just imagine this is a tent. Doesn't matter what brand it is or how good it is. And what I want to talk about is the way that a lot of times people will put tarps underneath their tents. Putting a tarp underneath the tent isn't a bad idea. Most of the time, and you can see it on the bottom of this, tents will be made with the bottom surface being made out of tarp material. And under ideal circumstances, that is going to be watertight and moisture's not going to be getting up through it. But you know, just like a rainfly, you give it a couple of years and you're going to start getting some holes in there, and you will get moisture going up into your tent. So oftentimes what people will do, and it's a good idea, is to buy a heavy-duty tarp like the ones that I'm repairing in this video, and you will lay the tarp underneath your tent, and that will help to ensure that moisture is not kind of wicking up from the ground up into your tent area. And that can definitely be a thing when you have like your bedding and things inside the tent. You know, whatever kind of wicks up in there, it tends to make the area kind of moist. So people will put a tarp underneath. Again, great idea, but one huge mistake, and I'm going to show you a photograph of this example that I see all the time, is what people will do is they'll have the tarp extending out beyond the edge of their tent. And where that becomes a problem is if it rains. You can imagine it's raining, and let's say we have a tarp down here, and the tarp extends out a couple of inches beyond the tent. All the rain that hits the side of the tent and runs down lands right in your tarp, and instead of hitting the ground and absorbing into the ground, it hits your tarp. And if your tarp is working properly and it's waterproof, that water is going to pool in the tarp and go right underneath your tent. So if you put a tarp under your tent and it extends out beyond the edges of the tent, you are going to be protecting yourself from ambient moisture in the ground, but you're going to be setting yourself up for enormous problems if it ever rains, because you will be generating a swimming pool underneath your tent. And especially on the uphill side of your tent, all that water is just going to go down under the tarp and roll right underneath your tent, and you're going to be creating absolute awful circumstances inside your tent if you do it that way. So if you put a tarp underneath your tent, make sure you kind of fold it in, tuck it in, and make sure that none of those edges are extending out past where they're going to get water on them. Now let's go back to the exciting video about grommets. This goes down there and tap. And the last thing I want to share with you guys is how to attach a grommet to thin plastic, like 4 mil or 6 mil plastic sheeting. I'm going to be using just this piece of packing material as a demo for it, but the procedure is a little bit different, and you have to take some precautions in order to make sure that your grommet doesn't just cut right through the material and become useless for you. As you can see, I've changed my clothing. I've got my Jesus shirt on, because was it not Jesus himself who said, "He who hath attacheth a grommet to old Amazon Prime packaging will surely reside with me in the kingdom of heaven with my Father." So let's hop over here and get to work. The first step when you're attaching the grommet to your plastic sheeting is, as I mentioned earlier, to cut a small hole in it. This is that cookie cutter piece. I'm going to place it down in the corner here, use my hammer and tap. And did I do it enough? Yeah, got most of the way through. I'm going to try again here. I think that got through. All right, so we've got our little hole knocked out there. And normally what you would do is you would just take the grommet and put one side through there and the other side over here, and you'd put it on the form and take the punch and do all that. But the sharp edges of the grommet on plastic like this, you know, thin plastic that doesn't have kind of the weaving of tarps, has a really good chance of just cutting a larger hole right through your plastic material, and then this whole thing would just pop right out with a little bit of plastic sandwich between it. So to prevent that, what you would want to do is take some cloth. And for this video, because I don't want to waste my precious butt wipe cloth, I've just got some paper towel. And this is just for demonstration purposes. What I'm going to do in the paper towel is just cut a little hole. I could rip it since it's paper towel, but since we're pretending it's cloth, you would use scissors to cut a small crossed hole like that. And we're going to do it again for another piece, because what we're going to do with these pieces of cloth is we're going to use them to sandwich around the plastic, and the cloth will protect the fabric from being cut through by the grommet. So grommet that goes on the bottom first starts through one of these pieces of cloth. Just push it right through the holes there, and then that goes up through your plastic, and then we take the other piece of cloth and push it down from this side, and this is going to protect this side. Then we take this piece here, pop it on top, and now what we've got is a multi-decker sandwich that has grommet, cloth, your plastic sheeting, more cloth, and then your grommet. And at this point, I forgot my base, at this point you would take this, put it on top, and hammer away. But not surprisingly, since you can probably imagine I don't like to be wasteful, I don't want to ruin this perfectly good grommet by hammering it in there. But that is, in theory, what you should be doing, is just putting some kind of pieces of cloth around there. Now you could trim the cloth to make it a little bit smaller, maybe have it extend past the grommet by maybe 1 centimeter or so. But the basic idea is you just want to have some cloth sandwiching around your plastic to protect the plastic from just being cut through. And now, without any further ado, let's cut to the new hot single, Tarp and Grommet King, released by Praxis Prepper on Preptopia Records.
I'm the tarp and Grommet King. On the rise, streets sing my praise under the gray skies. Rain, no game, I'm the shelter from storm. Tarps and grommets, my hustle, my norm. I'm the tarp and Grommet King. On the rise, streets sing my praise under the gray skies. Rain, no game, I'm the shelter from storm. Tarps and grommets, my hustle, my norm. Slinging the puffs, dodging the rough spots, patching up the holes where the raindrops dot. Grommet on grommet, sturdy as steel. Weather can't break me, I'm the real deal. From alleyways to high rises, city breeze my name. Covering up leaks, insurance for the rain. Grommet life ain't glamorous, but it's my throne. Reigning over elements, the city's my home. Overlooking the skyline, top rap throne. Every grommet a medal, every challenge overthrown. Weatherproof warrior, never backing down. King of the city, wearing my tarp crown. Overlooking the skyline, top rap throne. Every grommet a medal, every challenge overthrown. Weatherproof warrior, never backing down. King of the city, wearing my tarp crown.
Hey YouTube preppers, if you enjoyed this video, here's another that I think you might like. But before you click on it, I wanted to take a moment to thank all the people you see on the right-hand side of your screen. They help to support all the work that I do here over at patreon.com. If you'd like to join them and get your name added to the list, the link's below.